Hey friends, and welcome back to Life Coaching for Mompreneurs. I'm Martine Williams, your host. And before we dive into today's episode, I want to kind of set up how November is going to be here on the podcast. So this month, I am taking some time and some space to rest and to grieve the recent passing of my mother-in-law, who was such a special lady to our family. And as the full-time caregiver, I need some time. I need some space. And I talk about this all the time on the podcast of, taking care of yourself and prioritizing yourself. And I am not just going to talk the talk without walking the walk. And so throughout November, which here in this community, we talk about it as November, I'll be sharing some of our most valuable podcasts, so MVPs from the podcast archives on this topic. And each one is going to tie perfectly into this month's theme of saying no to what drains you and yes to what truly matters. So whether you're hearing these for the first time, or maybe they're just the gentle reminder that you need right now as we move into the busiest season of the year, I hope they meet you right where you are and encourage you to protect your peace, honor your capacity, and lead your life and not just perform it. So thank you so much for being a part of this community, for your prayers, for your support, for your reach out, and for giving me the grace to have this pause this month. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to Remix Moments with Martine, where we will remix your mindset one moment at a time. I'm your host, Martine Williams, and I'm here to bring you a quick burst of inspiration, insight, and a fresh spin on your mompreneur journey. In just a few minutes, we'll remix your mindset, energize your day, and keep you moving forward with purpose. Let's dive in to today's moment. Well, hey friends, welcome back to the Remix Moments with Martine as we continue our conversation this week on guilt. This is a heavy topic and it deserves 2 episodes. So today we're going to be talking about how to kick the guilt. So I'm going to be sharing with you 10 ways to kick the guilt. So now that we know the 3 types of guilt and the myths that fuel them, now it's time to kick its butt. So let's dive into this episode and you can learn the 10 ways to finally kick the guilt. Let's do this. So how do we deal with the guilt? When it comes your way, this was the question that I get asked a lot. Okay, I'm working on saying no. I've developed, I'm flexing my no muscle, but I still have guilt that comes along with that. And so how do I deal with that? The first thing is don't sweep it under the rug. Like don't just throw it under the rug and act like it's not there. Acknowledge it so you can deal with it appropriately. And if it's a toxic behavior that keeps coming up for you, maybe again, you need to seek some professional help with that. Maybe it is just so deeply rooted that you need someone to help you work through that. Maybe you need to talk to a friend and say, this just keeps coming up. Can you help me figure out like, where am I wrong here? Help me to process that. And it is something that I am very intentional about. And I've actually been like encouraged by my own mentors and coaches about how I really am pretty good at seeking out wisdom and seeking out counsel and not trying to do it on my own and to keep myself honest about, am I doing something wrong or could I have done it better? Like I'm okay with hearing, constructive criticism. So maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a mentor, but don't sweep it under the rug. Acknowledge it so you can deal with it. When you sweep things under the rug, like this could be for anything. Like if you're upset with your spouse, it's going to show its ugly head at some point. I was just having a conversation with a client about this today, how there are probably some unresolved emotions from a situation in her life. I mean, you just keep pushing it down. It's like a balloon. You're pushing it under the water and the balloon just keeps popping up. You just keep pushing it down or you keep sweeping it under the rug. And eventually, if you're sweeping it under the rug, all the dust and all the things, there's a mound that comes over the rug or it's underneath the rug. And you try to walk over that. And eventually you will face plant. There's going to be a time where it's going to come up. So don't sweep it under the rug. Deal with it appropriately. Okay, step number 2 is to shut down the inner critic and turn it into your inner coach, reminding you that your behavior doesn't have to define you. So this is where having the appropriate ammunition to fight the battle, this is where that's important. So what is your ammunition to fight back against the inner critic that is there? How can you turn your inner critic into an inner coach? Because when you're being critical of yourself and you're shaming yourself, you're probably going to isolate, you're probably going to hide. But when you're like, think about a coach. A coach is a safe place to feel the emotions, to share the thoughts, to share the actions with no judgment. But a coach is going to help you move forward. It's not going to make you hide. We're going to push you forward and get yourself out there. So for me, like having the ammunitions, like what I can say back to the inner critic, number one is that, I definitely have scripture verses, like I bring my brain back to truth. I don't always just trust what's in my head and my mind. That's the inner critic. Remember, we have thoughts that show up all day, every day, and we don't have to believe what our brain says. So this is where my triple C belief breakthrough method comes in. You've got to catch the thought around the guilt. Is it true? Is it useful? Is it productive? Is it helpful? And then you got to catch it. Then that's the checking it to see if it's useful, if it's helpful, if it's true. And then you got to change it. So changing it from a critic to a coach. And you just have to have, that's the ammunition, is the power that you have within you to do that 3-step process and to understand that I don't have to believe everything that comes up for me about this guilt. I don't have to believe what everyone else is telling me about the situation. I can do my own inner work and I can do my own coaching to help me to shut down the critic as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, and so that I can start moving forward with it. You might even want to keep a little notebook next to you to write it down, like keep some, or use your notes on your phone, so that you can really get into like, what are my thoughts about this situation, catching it, checking it, and fact check it. Just like we would fact check things that come through our email or on social media, like just because it's on social media, we know it's not true, right? We don't believe everything that's on social media. So just because you're thinking it doesn't mean that it's true. You don't have to believe everything your brain offers up. So fact check it and decide, is this truth or is this just a feeling that's coming up for me right now in this moment? So is it misplaced guilt? Okay, the third one is how to deal with your guilt is it misplaced guilt? Like ask those who you feel guilty for, like how they're feeling. And an example I want to give you is one of my biggest sources of guilt as I was building my business was mom guilt. And very successful in my business, working at home. The kids would be at home. They would see me working and they would see my husband going to work, but they didn't see him physically working, right? And so I had a lot of mom guilt around when they would want to play and they would want to go do things. And it's not as much now as my kids get older. So if you're a mom of littles, like it's totally normal that you're feeling some of these things, but hopefully this will help you. I just had a conversation with them and really decided what was important for them. Was it important that I cooked every single night a 3-course meal like my mom did? That was what was modeled for me, and that was the expectation I had of myself. Or was it just important for them and for me to get around the table for dinner, whether it was ordered in or someone else cooked it, or it was one simple meal and not like all of these other things that I had in my mind of what a mom should be providing. And it was the craziest thing because all of the guilt, the misplaced guilt that I was putting on myself, they didn't care about it. They really didn't. They didn't care that I was at every practice, just that I was at the game. They didn't care that I cooked the meals. They just wanted food on the table, right? So I think we just add all of this or misplaced guilt on ourselves because of either expectations or how we saw other people role model for us, how we saw our parents parent, how we see our mentors doing business. And so we can really create a lot of misplaced guilt based on that. So having honest conversations with yourself, honest conversations with your family can really help you to negate some of this, misplaced guilt that is there. So the fourth is having evidence. So this is another great tip that came from a mentor of mine was, do I have evidence of maybe some of the things that I was feeling guilty for? Did I have the list, right, of all of the times that I was spending time with my kids? Did I have a list of all of the things that I did get done on my list so that I can go and spend time with my spouse or go do something fun for myself? Like, what is the evidence? So I had, my ammunition of the words to say back. I had the ammunition of, really sitting down and talking with my kids and figuring out what was important to them. But then it was like, I needed some evidence as well. Just having the ammunition wasn't enough for me. So having evidence of the things that I was accomplishing, the time that I was spending on productive things, the defining what productive is, that's been coming up all week with my clients. is this tie of identity to productivity and their worth being wrapped up in that and the guilt that comes with that. So for you, it could just be the evidence is this is my definition of success. This is my definition of being productive. And when I meet that, it's good. I have the evidence now. I don't need to feel guilty that I'm not working hard enough or long enough or like someone else is doing, or I don't need to, spend 24/7 working on some mom things that I see other moms doing that is producing guilt for you. So it's, a list checker. And for those of you who love having a checklist, it gives you the confidence and the evidence that you actually did the things that were important to you that day. So maybe that's what you do. You do a brain dump and you have your important priorities for the day. And when you get those done, like that will help you. That'll be the evidence that you need. But when you're feeling guilty, you feel like everything that you did didn't matter or that you didn't spend enough time working. And so now you need to work through dinner. You need to work through dinner time, quality time with your family, or you fill in the blank there. But we swing the pendulum to extremes, and having the evidence really helps us keep that at bay. Evidence that you have helped a friend, evidence that you did spend time with your kids, you did spend time on your work. Like this all really, really does help when it comes to kicking the guilt. Have you started to get in the mail those holiday guides with like the top 100 gifts? I got one from, I think it was Target the other day. Have you started to get those in the mail? Well, I have something special for you to help you to design your holidays with intention and without regrets. Now's the time to start preparing and planning for the holiday that you want for you and your family. So in honor of November, I put together my Stress Less Holiday Guide. So go to martinewilliams.com/stress less and go grab that guide. The link is in the show notes too. Don't just go to it, print it off and design the holidays that you want. Okay. Number 5 is know that self-care isn't selfish. You have needs and you can't be everything to everyone and nothing to yourself. So you have to believe that self-care isn't selfish. Your needs are valid. And I've done other episodes after episode on this topic. But if you're feeling guilty or selfish because of self-care, you definitely want to go back and listen to one of those episodes. But just know that it's not selfish and that your needs matter too. You have needs too. Number 6, how to kick the guilt is setting healthy boundaries and communicate them. So we have to set boundaries and communicate them. We can't just set the boundaries and not communicate them appropriately to the people that it matters to, because then it's like we're expecting them to read our mind. And guilt sometimes comes from those unclear expectations. We haven't told people how to treat us. We haven't told people what we're going to allow and what we're not going to allow. And so when we haven't communicated that boundary and then they want to infringe on the boundary, we feel guilty when we follow through on that boundary because we haven't appropriately set the boundary. It's a cycle, y'all. So as the holidays hit, it's a big time to do this because there may be some traditions and things that you have as a family that you want to have as a family. And if you haven't clearly defined that, then, and like, this is what my Christmas day is going to look like. This is how my family is going to celebrate the holidays. This is how much we're going to spend. Like Christmas, this is what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. It's on both sides is hard because there will be people who don't appreciate that or don't value the same things that you value. It's hard for them to accept it because they don't understand it. Maybe it's not how they did their Christmas vacation or Christmas holidays or how they do things, but you have to communicate. You have to know it first. So you have to know what the boundary is, and then you have to communicate it. Now, you don't have to explain it away, but just letting them know that this is a new tradition. This is what we're going to do as a family. And this is the expectation. Number 7, say you're sorry when needed. Okay, let's just go ahead and apologize. Again, guilt sometimes is there for a reason because we didn't behave at the standard that we had personally and with our moral compass and our own values. Maybe we had a bad day and we just lashed out at our children or our spouse or someone else, like someone just happened to be in the wrong place at the right time and they ended up being the person that you lashed out on. Just say you're sorry when needed. Guilt isn't always bad. I mean, it will lead us to apologize, when our behavior was just not up to our values and our standards. So instead of stewing over it and beating yourself up about it and feeling guilty and like literally beating yourself down on day upon day, forgive yourself. Say you're sorry as soon as possible. They may not accept your apology, and that's on them at that point. You've done what you're supposed to do, which is to say that you're sorry and ask for forgiveness, and the rest is up to them. They can carry that forgiveness in their heart if they want to. It's going to make them sick, but just say you're sorry. All right, number 8, get help if you're experiencing mental health challenges that your guilt can be stemming from. I mentioned this in the beginning, but if it's becoming like a toxic trait for you, or guilt is very toxic for you, it's something you're dealing with every single day, every moment of life, I really challenge you to go get the help that you need, because guilt should have no place in your life other than correcting us when we're wrong. Misplaced guilt, toxic guilt, guilt bombers, it really does add to your burnout. It adds to physical illness, mental illness. So address it. Again, don't sweep it under the rug. Get the help that you need from a professional who can help you walk through it. I'm not the professional when it comes to that. So go seek out the help that you need if this is becoming something that's all consuming for you. Number 9, believe that you are making progress and not striving for perfection. We can feel guilty if our standard is perfection. If this is another piece that you really struggle with, is this idea of perfection, then I want you to sit back and think, have you even written out the picture of the woman, the wife, the mother, the sister, the daughter that you desire to be? Like, what does she even look like? Or are you just striving for perfection? Because if you're striving for perfect, I can guarantee you guilt is going to live in your life for a very long time, because perfection is a lie. There's no such thing as perfection. It's all about progress. And you're going to get it wrong some days, right? I get it wrong. You get it wrong. We all do on some days. As a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, as a friend, and that's okay. Perfection is not the goal, y'all. Perfectionism kind of creates this pace of doing more and more and thinking that we can make it perfect. But perfection is unrealistic, and so it doesn't happen. And then we just go do more. Our standard is perfection. It doesn't happen. And then we just go do more. This is what I see over and over and over again in my clients, as they get into this proving energy, which sometimes is driven from the idea of perfection. And it becomes a vicious cycle. And guilt is all wrapped up in there. So just believe that you are making progress. This is why it's important to track your progress, to have some tangible ways to see the momentum starting and building and the progress happening. Even slow progress is still progress. But there are people out there who can also help walk the journey and help you to get that progress. So if you're looking for progress and you want help with that versus perfection, I know a girl. I know a pretty amazing coach that could help you through that. You can go and book your free clarity call and let's get that ball rolling. But if you're trying to make it perfect, have someone help you with that. Have someone, a thought partner that can help you work through, where is this idea of perfection coming from? And just set the intentional thought that you're making progress and you're not striving for perfection. All right, number 10 for how to kick the guilt. And I mentioned this earlier, but I want to repeat it again. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for maybe the behaviors that weren't what you or how you want to show up in your life and your business and your family. Forgive yourself for the mindsets or not believing that you're capable to design a life that you love. Forgive yourself for the expectations that you have set on yourself that are unrealistic. Forgive yourself for trying to live up to the expectations of others. Just forgive yourself, because that's where a lot of the guilt is coming in from as well. Forgive yourself and move on as quickly as possible. And that's easier said than done. I get it on a lot of days, and to the extent of the behavior that came from making a decision, right, wrong, or indifferent, depending on the day. I understand that it could be a hard thing for many of you listening to this today, but there are many people who can walk you through that. There are people who can help you. So those are just some of the quick, not easy, simple, not easy ways that I have personally addressed guilt, and that I walk some of my clients through as well that are really dealing with this, and that people have coached me through on my own guilt, whether it's mom guilt, whether it's daughter guilt, you fill in the blank there. There's just a lot to be said for this topic, and we could really talk about it for a lot longer, but maybe one of these 10 will finally click for you. Maybe it's a conversation that you need to have or that you hear here on the podcast and it finally clicks for you. But I do want you to hear this. Guilt has no place in your life long-term. It will make you sick, just like unforgiveness will make you sick. Guilt will make you sick. And I don't know if you've ever read that book, The Body Keeps Score, but there's a lot of things that we're dealing with emotionally that are making us sick. And so that step, number one, is real important. Don't sweep it under the rug. Deal with it and deal with it as quickly and appropriately as possible. So there you go. There are your 10 steps for kicking the guilt. I hope that you find these helpful. Thank you for joining today's episode, and I will catch you on the next one. Well, that's it, friends, for this remix moment. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me, and I hope that you are feeling inspired and ready to take on whatever comes your way. Remember, even small moments can lead to big changes. If this moment made a difference, be sure to subscribe, share with your fellow moms, and leave me a quick review. Seriously, it means the world to me to hear from you. And until next time, I am believing in you, and I will catch you in the next moment.